Today on ReCraft channel we're going to transform two rusty metal vases into beautiful African-inspired outdoor decorations. And the best part? I'm going to show you a technique that you can actually use on all kinds of materials and objects around your home. So, if you have something old, ugly, rusty, or simply sitting around waiting for its turn, don't throw it away just yet. Because today, these two vases are getting a second chance. Let's go back to where this story started. About 2 years ago, I found these two golden-looking vases in a party store that was about to close. Everything was on sale and these two were ridiculously cheap. I paid only 100 Turkish Liras for both of them, which means 2 euros at that time. Then, when I moved to my previous house, I decided to use them outside on the patio. And as you can imagine, being left outdoors was not exactly a spot treatment for these poor vases. They got rusty, really rusty. So eventually they were looking less like decoration and more like something I had rescued from an archaeological excavation. But instead of sending them to the garbage, I decided it was finally time to give them the second chance they deserved. Underneath all that dirt and rust, they became incredibly shiny. They looked almost like the kind of vases you would see in a palace. Very elegant, very glamorous, very not me. So clearly we had to keep going. My goal was to create an African handcrafted effect, and for that I decided to cover the vases with Plaster of Paris. And this is where the transformation really begins. For my mixture, I used 2 cups of satin plaster and 1 cup of water. That's it. I mixed everything together until I got this consistency. You want it to be thick enough to stay on the surface, but workable enough to spread. Then my daughter came to help me. And honestly, this is one of my favorite things about DIY projects. Sometimes they become family projects without you even planning it. So we started covering the vases together. And that's how we ended up with 2 very strange, very spiky vases. But I started to leave them alone and let the plaster dry. The next day, I came back to check on them and oh my goodness, they looked disgusting. The rust underneath had started coming through the plaster. I already knew I was going to add a second layer of plaster, but first those spikes had to go. So I sanded them again. Yes, again. I told you I hate sanding. Now, it was time for the second layer of plaster, but this time I changed my technique. Instead of using a spatula, I used a brush, and this made everything much easier. I could work the plaster into the curves, build up the texture, and get a much more controlled surface. After about 3 hours, I sanded the vase again. Yes, I know, more sanding. But this time, I wasn't trying to remove anything. I just wanted to refine the surface. Then I used a little bit of water to smooth everything out. And finally, I could start seeing the shape and texture I had imagined from the beginning. At this point, I would say about 70% of the project was done. Now came the fun part, painting. And I want to show you something really interesting. When you are working with a surface that has this kind of texture, you don't necessarily need complicated painting techniques. Sometimes all you need is a sponge. Just lightly brushing a sponge over a patterned surface can create this beautiful effect. The raised areas catch the paint, while the deeper parts stay darker. And suddenly, all that texture starts to come alive. But for my vases, I wanted the deeper areas to be even more defined. So today, I needed to fill all those little gaps with black. And for this job, I used something very special. An old toothbrush. Yes, an old toothbrush. And honestly, it was perfect. It's small, it's flexible, and it can reach all those little spaces that a normal brush could struggle with. Plus, using it on a vase this size feels a little bit like brushing a giant tooth. Let me introduce you to my Dremel tool set. I love this set so much. It has so many possibilities and I use it for different projects all the time. Before I started, there was one very important thing. Safety first. Because this process creates a lot of dust. But there was one problem. For today's project, the main tool was a little too heavy and too long for the kind of detailed work I wanted to do. Whenever you're doing this kind of sanding or detail work, make sure you're working in a well-ventilated area, preferably outdoors, and use appropriate protective equipment. And finally, the transformation was complete. Here they are, my two old rusty golden vases, completely transformed into African-inspired, handcrafted style outdoor decorations. And honestly, I couldn't be happier with the result. Think about where we started. Two cheap golden vases from a closing party store. Two completely different looking pieces that now have a whole new personality. And this is exactly why I love upcycling. You don't always need expensive materials or a brand new piece of furniture to create something beautiful. Sometimes you just need to look at an old object differently. You need a little imagination, a little patience, and sometimes a little bit of stubbornness. Tell me in the comments what you would transform with this technique. I would absolutely love to hear your ideas. So, until next time, stay creative, inspired, and most importantly, don't throw it away just yet.